In March, the Buffalo Bills traded a first-round pick, among other things, to the Minnesota Vikings in exchange for wide receiver Stefon Diggs. In doing so, the Bills acquired a true number one receiver and the best route runner in football. A year prior, the Bills tried and failed to acquire the player who held that title before Diggs in Antonio Brown, and I'm sure they're feeling lucky right now. Even outside of the obvious similarities in that both Brown and Diggs are smaller built receivers who work their way up from underdog late round pick status to superstars, Brown is always the player I've compared Diggs to most stylistically. While neither are truly elite physical specimens, they both have excelled in large part due to mastering the craft of route running. It's not as if Diggs is a slouch of an athlete either, as he is one of the best at contested catches in the league as well. Diggs is best known for being a great route runner, but it's important not to put him in a box because he can do it all. This elite combination of traits is what sets him apart as one of the top tier receivers in the NFL. Matt Harmon of Yahoo Sports is perhaps the one person who has been leading the Stefon Diggs train for longer than I. Matt does great work every year charting receiver play with his Reception Perception project, so be sure to check him out there and give him a follow on Twitter. According to Harmon's tracking, Diggs is successful at getting open against all kinds of coverage. In 2019, Diggs had a 76.5% success rate against man coverage, 84.3% success rate against zone, and a career-high 79.1% against press coverage. He finished above the 93rd percentile against man coverage for 3 straight years from 2017 to 2019, finishing as high as the 98th percentile in 2017 with a 78.7% success rate. He's also seen similar success against both press and zone defenses, finishing with percentiles in the 80s, each of the past 3 years in both categories. In 2019, Diggs put on a beautiful route running display, finishing above league average in success rate at getting open on all 10 routes on the standard route tree. In 2018, he only had below average success rates on digs and post routes, but he improved by almost 15% on each in 2019. Diggs is one of the best separators in the game, and Reception Perception shows us he can get open at all levels of the field. He releases from the line of scrimmage against heavy press coverage with ease, and he has a whole highlight reel of making cornerbacks look silly. If route running is an art, then Stefon Diggs is Vincent van Gogh. Route running isn't just about being fast and able to cut with sharp, precise movements. It's also about understanding where defenders stand and moving them. The stop-and-go double move is something most receivers employ, but no one does it as good as Diggs does. On this play, Diggs probably could have easily just run past Tramon Williams, but he instead makes his own life easier by attacking him head-on. Diggs makes a sharp cut inside towards Williams' leverage and almost just as quickly cuts back outside to open turf before Williams even has time to counter the first move, leaving him tasting dirt. Diggs only has a 61st percentile speed score per player profiler, yet he gets open with the best of the best thanks to his expertise in knowing how to attack corners. Diggs is tremendous on releases off of the line of scrimmage. He doesn't waste any steps. Here, against the 49ers, he stutters his feet at the line of scrimmage at the snap to get a feel on how Ahkello Witherspoon is going to attempt to guard him, if he's going to jam him or not. As soon as he realizes Witherspoon is just attempting to mirror him, he quickly releases to the outside. After gaining leverage and winning the hand fight, Diggs is able to walk in for the touchdown. Another example of Diggs using his defender's own leverage against him came in the 2017 NFC Championship game. Here, Diggs leans all the way into Eagles corner Patrick Robinson to start his route, fighting pressure with pressure all the way until the top of the route where Diggs stops on a dime, drops his hips, and violently breaks to the outside while still running full speed, leaving his defender in the dust. Picking on the Packers once again, Diggs shows his burst off the line of scrimmage. Diggs gives a quick hesitation jab at the snap to the inside, which Jaire Alexander bites on because Diggs sells the fake with his entire body, not just his feet. Alexander is able to recover and Cousins underthrows the ball, but Diggs is still able to win the play because of another great subtle aspect of his game. He never shows his hands too early. If a receiver shows his hands too early before the ball arrives, the DB can react sooner and has a much better chance at breaking up the pass. Diggs shows late though, leaving Alexander in a guessing game, and the Vikings score a touchdown. Against Washington, Diggs shows how a receiver can win a route in just the first second after the snap. He explodes off the line with zero hesitation, running to the outside of the corner's blind spot. Because of Diggs sprinting immediately off the line, he completely sells the go route to the defender. Diggs turns him completely around, leaving the middle of the field wide open for an easy slant, which he breaks off into with burst and gains a ton of yak. For one last example, I'll go over this beautiful route against Chicago's Kyle Fuller. Running a comeback and go, he attacks Fuller head-on, full speed to get him on his heels. He quickly snaps down at the top of the route, taking 3 steps angled to the right to get Fuller to bite on the comeback. With Diggs' 4th step on the break, he sells his upper body on the comeback while pushing off with his foot to explode up the field, still running full speed and not looking back for the ball until he has Fuller beat by a couple steps. Unfortunately, as has often happened in Diggs' career, despite having the defender completely beat, his quarterback still misses him for what would have been an easy score. Due to Diggs' excellence in all the technical aspects of being a wide receiver, he has shown a tremendous ability to morph into whatever role his team needs him to be. A year after being the 6th most pass-happy team in the league in 2018, the Vikings transitioned into a ground-and-pound run first, second, and third team in 2019. They threw the 3rd fewest number of passes and had the 4th most rushing attempts in the league. Despite all these changes, Diggs' overall numbers did not suffer. He produced all the same, just in different ways. In 2018, Diggs played a standard underneath receiver role with just an average depth of target mark of 8.9, which ranked 84th in the league. In 2019, with the Vikings' rehauled offense, that average depth of target mark jumped all the way up to 14.9, which was the 10th highest in the NFL. Diggs' targets dropped from 149 to just 94 in 2019. This was despite his counterpart Adam Thielen missing 6 games and being hobbled in others, and the Vikings still having the worst number 3 wide receiver situation in the league. The man who filled that role for most of the year, Olabisi Johnson, graded out as PFF's 80th best receiver among qualifiers. Despite being singled out as Minnesota's sole weapon in the passing game for much of the year, and seeing the 46th highest number of targets in the league, Diggs was still 17th in receiving yards with 1,130. He was 4th in yards per reception at 17.9, 2nd in yards per target at 12.0, and 3rd in yards per route run at 2.5. He saw just 10 plus targets in one game in 2019. The result? 7 catches, 167 yards, and 3 touchdowns. In his new deep threat role, Diggs led all receivers in catches, yards, and touchdowns on targets 20 or more yards down the field. Even in an offense that aims to stifle its best talent, Diggs will still produce because he is that versatile and efficient. He ranked 10th in Football Outsiders' DYAR mark and 7th in DVOA in 2019. Receiving plus-minus is a stat Football Outsiders also tracks to provide context to catch rate. Given the location of a quarterback's passes, it compares a receiver's catch rate in each area to historical baselines. In this area, Diggs had the 4th best mark in the league at plus 9.0, behind just Michael Thomas, Tyler Lockett, and Chris Godwin. Diggs was 7th the year prior with a plus 9.7 mark. The NFL's Next Gen Stats marked Diggs as the 3rd best overall pass catcher in 2019, with a difference in catch rate over expected catch rate of 10.7. Diggs has the 10th most receiving yards on deep targets since entering the league, and he has the 3rd highest PFF grade on those targets. He is an elite deep threat, but again, that's not all he is great at. The 2 most targeted routes of his career are hitches and crossers, which have made up over 34% of his targets since entering the league. Again, on these routes, Diggs has the 3rd highest grade since entering the league per PFF. Diggs is top 5 in missed tackles after the catch, yards after catch per reception, and percentage of catchable targets caught. However he is utilized on the field, Diggs is sure to get his regardless. As stated previously, what sets Diggs apart from most other deep ball threats and technician specialists is that he's also one of the more physical receivers in the league at the catch point. Per Pro Football Focus, he leads all receivers in contested catch success rate over the past 4 years at 60%. He was pressed on 42% of his routes run last season, enjoying just 2.5 yards of separation on average. Press coverage is often a weakness of smaller receivers like Diggs, but it doesn't matter when you play as big as he does. Diggs' ability to outleap and outfight larger defenders for 50-50 balls is unmatched in the league today, especially for someone his size. Despite being 6 feet tall and about 190 pounds, Diggs' tape is just as full of plays where he goes up and makes a grab in tight coverage as it is of him wrecking defenders with his route running. Even when defenders don't bite on his fakes in the process of the route, Diggs still shows an ability to separate late in contested catch situations thanks to his hand usage and ball tracking. Against Detroit's Darius Slay, Diggs swings his arms underneath Slay's at the last moment to gain leverage, and he once again shows his hands late to secure the catch before Slay has a chance to react. So what does all of this mean for Diggs' new team in the Buffalo Bills? Quarterback Josh Allen is known for his rocket launcher of an arm, but he's actually dead last in accuracy percentage of throws 20 or more yards down the field per PFF. Diggs may wind up giving Allen easier windows to throw to deep, but it's still on Allen to deliver an accurate pass. Accuracy is usually something that is stable and not easily coached. However, as stated before, Diggs is such a great receiver because he's able to transform into whatever role his team needs him to be. As stated before, Diggs has made his bread and butter on hitches and crossers throughout his career. Those are actually Allen's most targeted routes, making up a quarter of his targets. Allen was PFF's 9th highest graded quarterback on throws 19 or fewer yards in 2019, and he was 6th in just intermediate throws. The Bills transitioned away from a vertical passing game to a quick throw one in 2019, and with Diggs' elusiveness after the catch, he can definitely help there. And while Diggs can't make Allen throw more accurate passes, with his contested catch excellence, he can help by winning 50-50 balls or tight window throws. Bills receivers were 28th in contested catch grades in 2019, with John Brown being among the bottom 10 of all receivers. That said, while Brown struggles on tough catches, he is almost as good as Diggs is at getting open. Diggs and Brown each scored in the top 15 in both success rate versus man and press coverage last year in reception perception. The Bills are one of just 2 teams with a duo of wide receivers to do this, along with the Falcons. Add in another route-running dynamo and Cole Beasley in the slot, and Bills receivers will be running wide open all day long in 2020. It'll just be on Josh Allen to get it to them. Stefon Diggs is the perfect complement to the Bills' offense and just what they needed to see if Allen is the real deal or not, whether he puts up big box score numbers or not. Diggs' relative lack of production compared to other elite receivers thus far in his career has not been his own doing.
I would say mainly more so towards fantasy football because they want production out of a lot of people when, a lot of different situations are different. Like you can see a situation like great receiver Michael Thomas, but also gets a lot of targets, and different people on different teams. You might not get as many targets this week, or you might not get as many targets another week, just because, like my team, I'm paired with another exceptional receiver, and I have a great running back, and I got a great tight end, guys that can make plays on the board. Not saying that he doesn't have those guys, but different people have different amount of targets, and it's a lot of things that you need to go right.
Different offensive systems.
For sure. So it's just like a lot of people kind of get thrown off by not having the necessary production, but equate that to, I'm sorry, basically just because, my job is to run routes and get open, and I can do my job to the best of my ability and still not get the ball. It's all good. That things happen.
He's played on run-heavy offenses with risk-averse quarterbacks on teams who failed to use him properly. The target volume may not have been there, but make no mistake, that was no fault of Diggs because he is truly an elite number 1 wide receiver.